Hi, myself Adi Narayanan. So in this video, you are going to see a simple Spring Microservices. So what I am going to do is, I am going to create a credit card microservice, which is will have a credit card related information, all the things, and we are going to move that as a separate microservice rather than implementing in a core banking application. From a core banking application, so core banking, it is used by all the branches of the bank. So if there is a branch in Solinganallur, okay, the branch will use core banking software. And in the core banking software, if someone comes and asks about their credit card information, they need to fetch the credit card information. So what now there is an application called credit card microservice. So you are going to assess from this, you are going to assess this credit card microservice rather than implementing this logic in this application or as a separate REST application. We are going to make it as a microservices. So we have a lot of advantages rather than creating a separate REST API application or implementing that logic into this core banking. That is not going to be a right way. Okay, so this is our idea, and so we are going. Then there is an Eureka server which we are going to run the Eureka server. After that, we can register this microservice to this Eureka server, and this core banking software will use the Eureka server to get the details of this microservice and send the information and retrieve the information. So now, in between core banking application and the credit card microservice, there is a Eureka server. That's the thing. So rather than from a core banking directly accessing credit card application, we are going to use Eureka server. So when your microservice is up, it will register with Eureka server. So from core banking, you are going to use Eureka server to get this detail and call the services that whatever you want. Right? So this is the idea. Okay, now we will go to our application here. Here I have an Eureka server, discovery server. See here, this one. Spring Boot. I implemented this using a Spring Boot. Spring Boot. See here, I register Eureka, register with no, don't register with a client, and all this information are on the internet. So just you can go and see why we are using all those things, and we are making the Eureka server to run on the port 8761. It's the default port. So you can use any port, but we are using 8760. Okay, now nothing other than this in this Eureka server. And if you see my enable Eureka server Spring Boot application, when you run this application, your Eureka server will up and and it will run in the port 8761. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing, you should run your microservice application, which will go and register in Eureka server. Then, from a core banking application, you can access the microservice. Only three things. So I'm not confusing, I think so. One Eureka server, this is the Eureka server. First, I will run the Eureka server. Let me run this Eureka server. You see here, I'm running the Eureka server. Just one annotation. See, your Eureka server is up and it is listening on port 8761. 8761. Okay, let me go to the browser and see 8761. So let me go here and the port number 8761. 8761. Okay, let me run this one. See, we got the Eureka server link and there is no registered microservices. See here, there is no microservice available. So now your Eureka server is up. So for this is the code, right? Nothing. You are creating an application, then you are creating a Spring Boot application with that Spring Boot application and Eureka server. That's it. And in the application property file, which is the configuration file for your Spring Boot application. And we are doing this. No need actually. Okay. Anyway. Okay. Now your Eureka service app. When you run your Spring Boot application, that is Spring Boot microservice application, that is we created one credit card microservice. So this credit card microservice, see the form file. This is the form file. Spring data, Jersey, something I have. The Netflix client, Eureka client. So cloud starter task. So these are the dependencies. And when you go here, property application property file. When you go to application property file, it is here, right? So we are in the credit card application. So we are asking to listen this particular web application. So already default Tomcat is embedded in this application. So this is the name. This is the name of the microservice, and we are giving Eureka service URL client. Now what? No, when you run this application, this will go and register with credit card application, credit card controller. Okay. Now, so there is something called transaction detail. Okay, leave it. Now, okay, what is the controller? In controller, how many methods are there? Only one method. So I wrote only one. We are going to access this from the core banking. So what are the details? I have transaction portal, credit card transaction details. So Priya is having something, Audi is having something. There are two records available in your credit card system. In your credit card system, there are two available. Just we are creating on REST API, that's all. So in a microservice application, we are creating on REST API, and so we are making this as a microservice application by using this one. So credit card microservice provider. Nothing other than this. So we create one credit card application, and we are registering this application, this microservice with the Eureka server. When I run this application here, when I run this application, see enable discovery client, enable discovery client. There Eureka server, when you run the Eureka server, that is at Eureka server. So we are asking to contact the discovery server and register this application with the Eureka server. And if you go here, controller, this is controller. Okay, this is controller. Okay, now we are asking this application, this microservice application, to register with the Eureka server. So what is this? You need to configure the application.property file with the proper microservice name and Eureka server URL. That's it. Okay, let me run this one. If I run this one, run Spring Boot application. First, we run our Eureka server, which is up and it is listening. Then we are running our microservice application, and we configured all in the application.property file about the microservice name and the Eureka server URL. So now what it will do, this microservice application will be registered with the Eureka server. So here it got registered. Discovery client, credit card microservice. It got registered with Eureka server. So when you go to Eureka server, you should see now there is nothing right. When you refresh, maybe it takes around 30 seconds by default. See here, your credit card application has been registered with Eureka server. So now from core banking, I want credit card details. What you should do? First, you need to contact the Eureka server, get the credit card microservice, and from there you issue the request. That's it, right? Okay. So now you've done two things. One is Eureka server is up and you register your microservice application with the Eureka server. Now, what is the third one? Now, I have a core banking application. See here, Neo core banking application. So in Neo core banking application, this application.property file. So this core banking application server is going to run with this port. This is a web application, right? This is a web application. That's all I'm giving out for this. So this core banking application, Neo core banking application, will run on port 2221. And see here, you are giving Eureka server detail. So this core banking application will use this Eureka server, get the microservice. Your Neo banking application not directly contacting the credit card application. That is the thing. Intermediate, there is a Eureka server. That's all. So if you have 10 microservice, register all the 10 microservice with the microserver. Then from wherever someone wants to use, then they can use the Eureka server, get the detail from there, they can contact the application which they want. That is the idea. Okay. Anyway, I will run this application. When you go here, Neo banking, transaction closure, controller. Here there is a controller. I wrote on controller. So when you call transaction detail, what is that we are doing here? So we are trying to get the microservice from Eureka server. Then we are sending the request to the microservice. So this is the transaction detail is in credit card application. So you are firing to this server, to this microservice. You are going to fire the URL to this URL. That's the idea. So I think so I'm not confused. Only you need to run the Eureka server, then you register all the microservice with the Eureka server. This is client. From the client, if I want to access credit card microservice, so give the credit card microservice name and just use it. So new banking application. See here we are using load balancer. So we are using load balance for the REST template. And where is this REST template? So it's core banking, right? Controller. See here, this REST template. And using this REST template, we are firing to this microservice. And so that's the thing. So now this REST template will use the application property file here. This one has an application property file, right? Microservice. So your REST template will use this one and retrieve the microservice details of credit card, and it will fire to the microservice. That's the idea. Nothing other than that. Okay. Now let us run this one. So this is the takeaway. Okay. Let's run this one. Where is our application? Eureka server application. Neo banking. Okay. Let me run this one. Discovery client. We will identify the REST template and also populate this one. Maybe it's starting, but when we go and do a full-fledged application, at the time you will understand which I will do it. So now the takeaway is you are creating Eureka server, you are upping the Eureka server, creating one credit card microservice from core banking. I am accessing the credit card details, but through Eureka server, I get the instance of microservice, then I call. That's the idea. Okay. Okay, now it is this server. This server is running in which port? Our core banking is running on 22214. Okay. Let me go to core banking application, localhost, localhost 2221. Okay, 2221. Okay. So 2221. What is the URL? Anyway, you are accessing a REST API in your core banking. So you are accessing your REST API in your core banking. So this is a core banking application. I am accessing the REST controller. See REST controller. I am accessing which one I am accessing? This one, transaction detail. So from where I am getting the information? See here there is nothing. Only one call to microservice, there is nothing. From where the information coming? From we are fetching the information from credit card microservice. Okay, so credit card microservice. So this one credit card microservice in turn is having the here is having the details. Priya, all those things are in credit card. Okay, now let's go here. You see you got the details from credit card microservice. From where you are 2221 is in core banking. From core banking we are issuing request to credit card microserver and we are getting the details and we are sending it to the client to Angular application, REST application or browser, or if you see this one in Postman. Okay, Postman. So we are getting the information. From core banking, we are not directly using credit card. We are going through Eureka server. Same way when you use EJP, we have something more registry. Same way here also the same. It's simple. Up the Eureka server, register all your microservices there. Then from client side, use a REST template and just you get the information. So now you no need to build the entire application as a single web application. So you can have your module in a different microservice and collaborate. So there are some other important things. It's very simple, but anyway, I will explain you some more complex project. So after this, so I am not confusing. I think so. We got this one. Okay. Anyway, thanks for your time. We will meet in the next video.